The ferry's deck thrums beneath my boots, steady, low, dependable. Then a chime answers that rhythm from the dark water, a bright wrong note in the fog. I lean over the rail, spear with the gaff, and haul up a fist-sized metal box webbed with weed. When it hits the deck, it sings again, a tired little scale that doesn't belong to any machine I know. "Eli, you good?" The bosun's voice crackles over the handheld. "Copy, drop tool," I lie, knuckling the push to talk. My gloves leave wet crescents on the lid. The hinge complains as I pry, and salt breath spills out of the box along with a cassette clear shell, label bubbled, tape wound uneven like a heartbeat that learned to limp. The PA clicks. Next stop in 38 minutes. The clock above the service hatch says 1:39. I pop the cassette into my pocket recorder. The reels shiver. Hiss. A woman inhales too close to the mic. "I'm sore." A hard cut. 2 more jagged edges show on the magnetic ribbon like old scars. I scan the deck, only sodium lamps, gulls circling high where night keeps them honest. The music box itself is old brass with a cracked enamel lid. Its cylinder is still wet. When I roll it with my thumb, it throws 1 clean note and 3 that snag the teeth. Not random. Damaged, but arranged. "Maintenance. Status?" That's Ray from the bridge, clipped temporary command voice. "Engine room checks green," I say. Also true. I kneel by the box, angle the recorder toward the speaker grill. Behind the woman's clipped apology, the ferry's own tannoy is faint ours. I recognize the double beep we installed last month to wake sleepers between stops. That pins the environment, not some shore recording. This was cut on a crossing. Another chime from the box, like it's correcting me. The deck vibes it back. I breathe in oil and salt and old coffee that's found the grating. "Okay," I tell the little machine, as if it needs permission. "What did you bring me?" Second play. Hiss, breath, that clipped "I'm sore," and then a new clue. The tannoy voice behind her announces Pier 2 and the time, but it's half swallowed by wind. I rewind, thumb the jog, isolate the syllables, let the rhythm of the beeps bracket the words. The clock on the bulkhead steps forward. If the sample is from a live announcement, we're 18 minutes from the same waypoint. I pull the strip of tickets I've been repairing from my tool pouch, a boring job that leaves your hands black. Tonight, the edges glitter where the punch misfired during swing shift. I line the strip against the music box, as if the holes were some code that will marry the chime. Stupid. But the mind wants patterns, and the wrong note keeps asking for translation. "Eli," the bosun again. Fog thickening to soup. No heroics. "Copy," I say, already committing to the opposite. I flip the box. Someone scratched a single initial on the base, or maybe just dragged a bolt across it. N.D. It spikes my chest in the stupidest way Noah Tran, and I hate that my head still makes room for him in moments like this. I rub the letters. They blur into nothing more than corrosion. I play the tape a third time, volume low. After the cut, the machinery behind the breath swells, then dips our portside thruster ramping to adjust for current. You can hear the uneven whine at that exact corridor between deck B and C. I've lived with that flaw like a neighbor's dog. Pier 2 in 18. Thruster pitch consistent. A woman starting an apology and failing to finish it. "What are you trying to do?" I ask the box. It doesn't answer, obviously, but the cylinder throws its tired scale again. Ding, ding, skip, ding. The skip is always the same tooth. I check my watch. 18 minutes is nothing. 18 minutes is the difference between a private mistake and a public emergency. I pocket the recorder, wrap the music box in an oil rag, and stand up into the fog that tastes like pennies. "Bridge, this is maintenance," I say. "I'll sweep B to C corridor. for a vibration anomaly. It's technically true. It also points my boots exactly where the tape suggests I should be. Make it quick, Ray says. And log it. Logging. I kill the radio because lies weigh less without witnesses. Pier 2, in 18. Somebody recorded a confession at sea and hid it inside a toy a child could wind. The cylinder catches, skips, insists. I let the wrong note lead me. Ray waits at the top of the service stairs like a stop sign. The bridge lights behind her turn the fog into matte glass. She clocks the oil rag in my hand and the bulge it hides. Maintenance, you log that sweep? Her chin points at the clipboard hanging by a steel cord. In progress, I say. I hang the rag on my wrist like it's nothing. B to C corridor, vibration anomaly, and a possible loose speaker grill. She doesn't smile. Fog advisory just went from heavy to hazardous. No freelance errands. Chain of command, Tran. I need 10 minutes. The words come out faster than I want. Just one pass through the blind corridor. If there's a loose plate, it'll bark when we pivot for Pier 2. You hear something unusual? She waits. The radio hisses between our breaths. I hit play on the recorder at my hip, volume low. The apology fragment rasps. Then the background announcement half says Pier 2 before Wynn chews it. Ray's eyes move to the device like it bit her. Found it in a box. I hauled off the water, on our deck. I keep my voice even. It's from this boat. Someone cut the tape in 3 places. The first point's 18 minutes ahead. You're holding potential evidence and you didn't report. Her jaw hardens. That's not how we do this. A deckhand clatters by with a mop bucket, oblivious. Ray steps closer so only I hear. You think I don't know about the blind spot on B to C? You think I haven't filed to fix it twice? Her voice is a tight cable. You also know there's a reason for procedure. If someone's planning something, the Coast Guard gets a call, not a mechanic with a hero streak. I'm not trying to be a hero. The lie tastes like brine. I'm trying to not miss a narrow window. 18 minutes, now 16. If I'm wrong, I log a loose grill and eat the paperwork. If I'm right, we keep someone from doing something they can't take back. She looks past me to the clock. The second hand throws a tiny shadow that jumps each tick. 10 minutes, she says finally. You take deck B, you keep the radio open, and you hand me whatever's in that rag when you're done. Copy. I step to go. She blocks once more, thumb brushing the sign-out board bolted to the bulkhead. It's a grid of plastic tags with numbers and names under plexi, the ship's memory of who touched what. One slot is empty, 317. The life buoy tag. Signed out earlier and not returned. Who has 317? I ask. Ray taps the blank space where a slip should be and doesn't answer. The plexi is fogged from the humidity. Ink has bled on 2 cards, making names look like they're running. Is that your signature? I ask before I can stop myself. She stares at me a long beat and then says, very even, you have 9 minutes. I take the stairs 2 at a time. The metal sings under my boots. My wet prints stamp a staggered path in the corridor, each one filling with a skin of shine. Overhead, the panels buzz. The ship breathes through vents that never sleep. Maintenance on route B to C. I key the radio. Listening for anomalous rattle? Bridge copies, Ray says. The consonants are clean enough to cut with. I wait until I turn the corner out of her sight, then pull the music box back into my hands. The enamel lid has a hairline crack that splits a painted gull. I wind it half a turn. The cylinder ticks and throws its crooked tune. In this corridor, the off note sits inside the thruster, whine like a pebble in a shoe. That's not proof. It's a direction. A tourist brochure flutters out from under a bench, slaps wetly against my ankle, and skitters. I pin it with my boot. The map shows our 4 stops, a cheerful dotted line, and a lighthouse icon near Pier 2. Someone circled the icon with pencil and wrote, in tiny block letters, 217. I pocket the map. The pencil mark is fresh enough to shine under the fluorescence. My radio crackles as a tug calls traffic out in the bay. All of it, the tag board with the missing 317, Ray's unhelpful blank, the box in my hands that was never meant to ride on steel stacks into a pattern that feels like a picture developing in cold chemical. 9 minutes. Pier 2 pulling closer whether I move or not. I move. Mina's kiosk is a glowing square in the gray, the kind of warmth that makes you think of kitchens at stupid o'clock. Steam ribbons from the espresso wand, carrying bitter comfort into the corridor. You're early for my bad coffee, she says, tamping a shot. Or late. Time is a wheel here. I need 2 minutes and your eyes. I unspool the strip of mispunched tickets on the counter. The paper is damp against the laminate. The holes catch light like tiny mirrors. You see anything wrong with this pattern? She leans in. Mina is the kind of person who notices when regulars switch from sugar to honey. Her gaze tracks the row of punches. These are staff comps, she says. Different notch angle. She points with the tip of a stir stick. But you've got 2 punches on the same timestamp. Could be a jam, I offer. Could be somebody doubled up. One person rode on another's pass. Her hand hovers over the final pair. These 2. See how the Chad tore backward? That happens when the clerk rushes. Which run? She tilts her head, listening past us, as if the ferry speaks in codes only she hears. The late swing before break. 39 past. That's now. I coil the strip back into my palm. Did you see anything else odd on that run? Mina wipes the wand, thinks. A woman sat where she could watch the dock workers, not the view. She kept writing numbers on a napkin. Not random, like she was correcting something. Numbers? 3 digits, then 2. I only remember because she smudged her pen and asked for a napkin with a harder edge. She wanted the lines clean. Bollard numbers, I say. The posts on the pier are stenciled in chipped paint. 3 digits, then 2 for position. If she wrote them out of order, she was modeling a different approach angle. Mina's smile is small and a little worried. That seems like a thing you would know. I pull the brochure map from my pocket and lay it next to the ticket strip. The pencil 217 glares up from the lighthouse icon like a dare. Did you see her coat? Dark, cheap uniform cut, but the stitching was wrong too many on the lapel. Like someone learning to copy. Mina slides a to-go lid across to me. What did you pull out of the bay, Eli? A reason to move, I say. If someone wants to vanish, they'll aim for darkness and gaps. We have both coming. A crewman wheels a bin past us, the casters chirping on a seam in the deck. Behind him, the corridor to Deck B pools shadow, where 2 fluorescents have been stuttering for months. I turn to go, and Mina reaches for my forearm. Hey. Her voice drops. If you're going to yank someone back from an edge, say your own thing out loud first. What thing? She looks at the recorder at my belt like she can hear the breath on it. The one that keeps catching in your throat. I nod no promise, just motion, and step into the cooler air of Deck B. The ferry's pulse comes up through the soles like a metronome set a half-beat wrong. I crouch by the panel where the vibration usually flirts with a rattle and press my ear to the metal. The thruster whine drags, corrects, drags. The same imperfection the tape wears. A maintenance placard nearby reads T17 thruster access, The stencil faded so the dash looks like a dot. For a second, my brain flickers back to the N. T, scraped on the box, makes the wrong connection again. Noah. Always Noah. Then, the letters resolve into what they are. Number 17. Machine, not man. I say it aloud, to break the spell. 17 is hardware. The radio pops. Maintenance? Status? B to C corridor clear, I say, because it is in the way that matters for paperwork. Continuing deck B sweep. I follow the line of shadow to the end of the corridor, where service door bleeds light around the edges. The latch bears fresh scuffs. A paper sign warns authorized personnel only in friendly block letters. I listen. On the other side, the whisper of a coat sleeve against metal, a breath caught, held, released into the ship's hum. Hey, I say, not loud. We're 2 stops from people and decisions. You don't have to be alone between them. Silence, then footsteps retreat. Not panic practiced. I let them go. You don't slam nets this early. You set lines. I take out the ticket strip and the brochure again, compare the inked 217 to the timing of our approach. If the bollard sequence was corrected, someone is calculating angles for a point where the lighthouse sweep leaves a 22-second blind window. That's not accident. That's math. I send a quick burst over the radio. Bridge, I have reason to believe an insider facilitated a doubled pass on swing. Deck B priority for the next sweep. On what basis? Ray asks. Ticket pattern anomalies and a witness on bollard numbers out of order. I keep Mina out of it by name. Recommend additional eyes on deck B. Copy, she says after a beat. The word isn't trust. It's permission to keep going. I pocket the evidence and walk toward the next pool of shadow, where the ferry breathes and the wrong note still wants translation. Deck B narrows into a throat where the bulkheads sweat. The security camera above the bend should show a steady red heartbeat. Tonight, the LED is dark. A tag of brittle zip tie dangles from its mount like a clipped nail. I palm the music box through the rag and wind it a breath. The cylinder ticks. The wrong note stitches itself into the ferry's drone at precisely this corner, then falls out when I lean 2 steps forward. I step back again. The note returns, a tooth catching. Geography sings. Ray comes up behind me, footsteps kept to the rubber strips. Status? Blind zone confirmed, I say. Camera's power feed looks nicked. I lift the cable insulation scuffed, copper just shy of view. You see this? Yeah. She places a hand on the housing to still its tiny tremor. This unit was scheduled for replacement next refit. A pause. Not like this. So the corridor is unobserved unless someone on the bridge picks the alternate angle, I say. Alternate's blocked by a pillar when we're loaded heavy, she answers. Right now, we're close. I tip my head toward the speaker in the ceiling. Listen past the fans. We both go still. Thruster whine dips, recovers, dips. The off note in the box lands on that trough like it's aiming for it. Ray exhales through her nose. You think the recording was made here? I think our ghost chose this place for the cut, I say. Less chance of a witness. She keys the radio. Bridge to ops, log camera B14 intermittent. Flag maintenance for daylight. She releases the mic and looks at me. You work this corner. I'll sweep the forward stair. You trust me with it? I trust the ship, she says. And I'm watching the clock. We split. I take the knee panel where the conduit runs. The screws give, their heads glossed with a film you only get from many fingertips in a hurry. Inside, a pocket of cooler air breathes over my knuckles. I find an imprint in dust, a rectangle that doesn't match any installed part. Something box-shaped rested here recently, then went away. Recorder, I tell Ray over the channel. I've got an impression in the service recess. About the size of a lunch tin. A music box sized, she says. Or a first aid kit, I counter, because doubt is ballast. Copy, forward stair clean, she reports. 2 passengers sleeping. 1 crewman passed, uniform correct. I lay the rag on the metal and set the music box into the dust silhouette. Perfect fit. I don't like the certainty that gives me. I wind the cylinder again, pulled the box at chest height, then at knee, testing resonance. The note fattens near the floor. Someone knelt here. Someone recorded here. Bootfalls approach and keep going. I close the panel, make the screws snug. Down the corridor, a droplet forms on a pipe seam and falls. Another forms, falls. The rhythm is wrong. 2 beats close together, 1 far. My brain, a traitor, translates everything into clocks. Eli, Ray says softly in my ear, what's your read? That someone planned for this gap, I say, and brought a container sized to sit in that recess. The tape was cut here, or checked here, using our background as proof of place. And endgame? The lighthouse blind at Pier 2, I say. If you were going to vanish clean, you'd build the moment against the ship's own noises so no one argues with the recording later. Ray is quiet a second too long. Check the junction box above you. I pop it. Inside, a fresh twist cap that doesn't match our inventory color. We use yellow. This is bone white and newer than the dust around it. My thumb comes away with chalky residue. Noted, I say. Recent hands. A shadow smudges the far end as someone slips around the corner toward Deck C. I don't chase. The corridor is a funnel. Running makes noise, noise makes spook. I take 2 slow steps and let the deck tell me what the camera can't. On the paint, a faint arc of scuff runs waist high, the kind you get when a lightweight case brushes a wall. Ray, I say, our someone is carrying the small hard case and knows how to use the ship to disappear on camera. Which is exactly the kind of skill a crew member would have, she says. Or someone coached by one. We meet at the midpoint again. She nods at the dead LED. I'll get this honest broken tomorrow. You say that like a promise, I say. It is. She gestures down corridor. Take the forward hatch. I'll feed you angles from above. The ferry strains against current. From somewhere below, the thruster growls hard, and a spoon in a mug pings in reply from the break room, tiny proof the whole vessel is one instrument. I pocket the box and move, route locked. Captain Ortiz keeps his retirement in a leather notebook names of good deckhands, the old routes that ran smoother than they had any right to, and the things a captain remembers so someone else won't have to. He's hunched over it in the wheelhouse alcove, glasses low on his nose. Sir, Ray says, formal because of the log. We need to confirm a training entry. Ortiz looks up, sees the rag in my hand and the box shape it hides, and pretends not to. All right, what's the question? The man overboard drill yesterday, I say. We're missing paperwork downstream. He flips pages. The pen he favors is a blue fine point that leaves tiny grooves when he presses too hard. He stops on a date, and there's the tell, one line of text under a strip of black marker. The ink bar shines different from the page. The ends of the strokes overshoot into white by a hair. Redaction's unusual, Ray says carefully. It is, Ortiz says. He taps the edge of the line. Crew privacy. Dispute about a trainee who froze when the horn went. I'm protecting a career from a single bad night. Did Tag 317 go out for that drill? I ask. And who signed it? Ortiz's tongue finds his molar while he thinks. He reaches for the issuance slate-laminated sheets in a binder with pen loops and a habit of sticking. The plastic crackles when he flips it. 317, he mutters. Huh, what? Ray asks. Form's missing, he says. I remember seeing it on the hook when we closed. He looks at Ray, not accusing yet. You had the mid-shift, officer. I signed out a flare kit, Ray says, not defensive so much as precise. Not a life buoy. Check the pen color. Mine's black. That blank is blue. Ortiz squints at the silvery print left behind by hard writing on the page below. He angles it to the bridge light. The ghost of a signature appears in tooth-marked lines. A squared-off R. No, not quite. The second stroke hesitates. If it's Ray's, it's a bad imitation. If it's someone else, they knew which line to touch. Someone traced over a prior day and tore the slip, I say. Took the physical tag and left the board to lie. Ortiz exhales. I should have caught it. Ray's jaw works. We can fix it now. Lock the aft lockers. Audit every kit. She glances at me. You said 18 minutes earlier. We've burned nearly 10. I nod. We have a location connection on B to C and evidence that the drill's time overlaps with the first tape cut. If someone practiced a fall, they chose a moment that wouldn't draw alarm because the system expected noise. Ortiz closes the notebook with a careful hand, like it contains something living. If this is more than a crew spat, I want my boat clean, he says. Tran, you have my permission to move on deck alone. Lock your radio open. Understood. He turns to Ray. You accompany from the catwalk. Do not break safety for a chase. We don't lose people on my last month. Yes, sir. I take the issuance binder for a second look. The missing slip leaves a frayed edge like a bandage torn fast. Under the page, the indentation reads Ray Locke, then skews into nonsense. Someone started writing her name and stopped. The mimicry is almost good. Almost. Whoever did this wanted us to look at me, Ray says. She's looking at the gouge like it answered back. False trail. Or they wanted the tag without ever being asked for it, I say. Using your name buys time. Ortiz pockets his pen. Bring me the tag when you find it, he says, as if that's inevitable. We move. The ferry leans into the turn that begins the approach to Pier 2. Through the glass, the lighthouse blinks steady math made visible. I check the time. Ortiz checks me. Ray checks the horizon. Everyone, one way or another, counts. On the lee side, out of the worst wind, I set the music box on a service shelf and study it like a machine instead of a message. The enamel lid's hairline crack meets a burr on the hinge at a perfect cross, as if the two were born together. Somebody opened this a lot. Ray hovers at the catwalk rail above. 5 to docks, she calls down, meaning minutes, meaning all of this is a race I chose. Copy. I take a flathead from my pocket and worry the hinge pin forward a millimeter. The cylinder shifts. Grit whispers. Something inside that isn't cylinder scrapes the casing. You're going to break your evidence, Ray says. I'm going to see the part that isn't meant to sing. I pry a hair more. The lid lifts beyond its natural stop and a sliver of felt shows where no felt should be. I slide the blade. The felt pops. Beneath it, a shallow cavity the size of 2 stacked postcards hides in the lid's underside. Inside the space, a folded sheet cut from a harbor master's notice with the Lighthouse sweep timetable penciled over. And, tucked under that, A tiny Polaroid blurred, night grain, a woman on our deck looking not at the water but at the gaps between bollards. Her coat is almost uniform, right shape, wrong stitch count. Mina's eyes were right. Ray's voice softens. What am I looking at? A plan, I say. And a face. Do you know her? Not yet. I angle the photo. The reflection of our deck light webs across her hair. Behind her, the number 17 thruster placard sits half in frame. The NT I read on the box wasn't a name, it was a part. My chest goes cold in the clean way truth does. I say it out loud so the old habit can't rewrite it. NT equals number 17. Hardware, not Noah. The old ache tries to make room, and finds none. Ray hears the name I didn't say. Noah? History, I say. Not useful right now. Useful is what? Finding Mara Hale. The name arrives because the harbor notice's margin carries a pen jot, M. Hale, sun ticket. Someone wrote it fast and firm, enough to dent paper. She's our vanishing passenger. Why carry your tape? Ray asks. Maybe it isn't mine, I say automatically, and then the recorder at my belt is suddenly very heavy. Or she brought it to mirror a loss. People carry weights they mean to throw away when they reach water. Ray's quiet. Then, if she steps into that blind, the current takes her under the pilings. We won't get a second chance. I tuck the timetable and the photo back into the cavity and press the felt in place. The lid fits. The box looks like a toy again. Toys are lies we tell to keep hands busy. Bridge, this is maintenance, I say into the radio. Target identified tentatively as Mara Hale. Likely on deck B forward, coat mimicking crew cut, lapel stitching dents. We need eyes on all forward access points. Copy, Ortiz answers himself, voice carrying that old ocean gravity. We'll flood the forward cams and keep Pier security sleepy until you clear. We're not detaining? Ray asks. We're saving, I say. And we're doing it without turning the boat into a stage. I pocket the box. The wrong note is quieter now that I have a name to tune to. I start moving, no more cautious mapping, just a line from where I stand to where the door bleeds light and there's just enough room for a person to hesitate. Eli, Ray calls. If this goes sideways, you'll answer for every step you skipped. I'll answer for the one I don't, I say, and mean it. A woman in a dark coat passes the gap ahead, profile quick. She holds a hard case, small enough to hide in the recess. Her head turns when the horn sounds for approach. She doesn't flinch. People intending to vanish don't spook at noise, they spook at kindness. Mara, I say, voice level. She doesn't look back, but her pace changes the way a record warps heat, imperceptible unless you live with sound. I fall in behind at a distance that tells her both truths at once. I see you. I won't tackle you. 2 to docking, Ray warns. Then, 2 to change a mind, I answer. I have the plan skeleton and the Lighthouse's math. I have a name that fits in a mouth, like a prayer, and a problem that's bigger than my guilt. The midpoint is a place to choose. I choose forward. The lighthouse blinks through fog like a metronome painted white. I hold the timetable from the music box against a deck schematic tacked under plexi and align the penciled X with our approach arc. The sweep pattern says we'll have a 22-second pocket when the beam drags its heel at Pier 2. Not superstition. Geometry. Ray paces the catwalk above, matching her stride to the blink without meaning to. Say it straight, she calls down. Where do we put bodies so eyes fail? Here, I answer, tapping the corner where the gangway shadow will clip the camera's peripheral. And here, I add, marking a pillar's blind wedge. Between those, 22 seconds of mercy or disaster. She leans over the rail. I'll take the rail line. You take the deck path. Cross at the mast and pinch. We don't tackle, I remind her. We talk fast, she says. We make safer feel easier than gone. I fold the timetable once, twice, until it's rough as a playing card and put it in my breast pocket close to bone. Under my boots, the deck hums its steady C-note. Above, the beacon's blink stutters the world into frames. I count between flashes 21, 22, and the dark between them feels like a door someone forgot to close. Ortiz to maintenance, the radio says. Traffic's thick near the pier. Tug on our starboard. Expect crosswash. Copy, I reply. Crosswash means a slick of reflected water that can pull a person sideways. The 22 seconds just got dirtier. Ray meets me at the forward stair. She has a small coil of rescue line at her hip, legal, quiet. We don't advertise this, she says, touching it. But it doesn't hurt to be less stupid. Stupid is a plan without margins, I say. We build margins. We move together, not quite a team and not. The ferry shifts its weight. The horn gives a long shape to the air. We pass a vending machine humming a thin harmony, pass a family asleep in a booth with paper cups collapsed like tiny tents, past the corridor where the camera heart should blink and doesn't. Every sound is a coordinate. Visual on our coat? Ray asks. Negative, I say. But she knows the ship. She'll be where sightlines argue. Catwalk clear, she reports, eyes flicking between angles. Deck crew at mooring posts, bored enough to miss anything quiet. We stop at a stanchion where two paint colors meet, old white, new white. On the floor, scuffs draw a small crescent, like a case kept rushing the same path. Her hard case again, I say. If the case is empty by the pier, we're too late, Ray says. Or it's ballast, I answer. People weigh grief. Sometimes they want to set it down where waves can take it. The beacon blinks. We count. 20, 21 Ray taps the rail on 22. We're synced, she says. Then we don't wait at the mark, I say. We meet her 2 frames ahead and steal back time. Ray breathes in, lets it out slow. Copy. I'll float above, you talk ground. If she runs, I block with voice, not body. That'll read as permission, not punishment, I say. It comes out kinder than I intend. Let's earn that kindness, she says, and heads for the catwalk's ladder. Her boots find the rungs without looking. She belongs to ships even when they try to age without her. I checked the recorder once. The apology fragment lives there, a shard I could pretend isn't mine. I don't get to pretend anymore. I thumb it off and trust what I can touch, rail, metal cold, wind salt heavy, the math of a blink. Mara, I whisper to the fog, practicing the name so it won't come out as an order. Mara Hale. We take our marks, and for the first time tonight, the plan feels like it can carry more than one person. Mina has a small broom for paper chads and a bigger one for rumors. When we step back to the kiosk, she's already sweeping the tiny moons the punch leaves behind. Can you print me the last 2 staff comps used before break? I ask. She glances at Ray on the catwalk, then me, then taps the old terminal. The receipt spools with a thermal curl that smells faintly like warm dust. Here, she says, sliding it over. Same minute, 2 seconds apart. I align the times against my mispunch strip. The angles match. The tear on the second punch leans backward, clerk rushing. 2 people, 1 pass, I say. Or 1 person twice, Mina says, playing devil because someone should. Ray calls down, visual on a dark coat near the forward benches. Lapel looks wrong. Shine where thread's too dense. I scan the line of seats. A woman stands to toss a cup, motion careful, not furtive, like she's memorized normal. The coat's lapel does shine in a way uniforms don't. I step to intercept and catch sight of the hard case tucked under the bench, handle facing out for a clean handoff. Mina, I say low, did anyone linger at the end of the line when you were slammed? Someone who would see the clerk rush? She thinks, eyes in last hour's film. Deckhand with a crooked cap, talking too friendly. I remember because he called me chef, which nobody does at a ferry cart. Name? She shakes her head. Face like most faces at 2 a.m. Ray's voice, coat moving. Forward. I walk parallel, not directly behind. The woman Mara keeps the kind of pace that tests whether someone is matching her without making it a chase. At the trash, she crushes the cup once, then again, as if the gesture matters more than the garbage. Miss Hale, I say gently. The name lands like a coin on a table, soft metal, certain. Your stitching gives you away. She doesn't look at me. Then I sewed wrong. Better than right, I say. Right would have put you on duty when you needed to be a passenger. Her mouth tenses in a way that isn't anger so much as weathered choice. I'm waiting for Pier 2. So are we, I say. Ray's boots echo above us, measured, a kind metronome. She speaks in the tone you use for skittish dogs and stubborn friends. We can stand with you while you wait. Mara's eyes flick to the catwalk, then to the case. That's not how some waits work. Did someone help you with the pass? I ask. You don't owe me the name. I'm trying to keep paperwork from deciding whether you live. She studies the receipt in my hand like it might be a photograph of a person she used to be. If I say yes, you'll arrest me. I'm not a cop, I say. I fix machines. Tonight that includes broken corners of a system built to drop people into holes. We're a minute from the pier head. You don't have to move at all. That's an option too. Mara's attention settles on the ticket strip when I set it beside the receipt. The twin times make a pattern even a tired brain can't ignore. She swallows. He said this would make it clean, she says. A favor. He lied, Ray says. Not harsh, just true. Mara slides the hard case from under the bench and holds it like it might fly away. What if I want clean? Then we make clean something you get to keep. I nod toward the safer side of the deck, away from gaps in mathematics. And we do it before the light turns its face. She looks toward the pier, where the beacon paints a moving street on the water. The sweep comes slower as we angle in. 21, 22, dark. Mara doesn't move yet. But the way her grip shifts says the case isn't ballast. It's a weight she's ready to put down without drowning. A low thunk usually walks up the hull when the sonar sweeps this close to the pier. Tonight it doesn't. The silence arrives where a sound should live. Ray hears it too. Ping skipped, she says from the catwalk. Not panic inventory. We've got a soft spot under us. Ortiz cuts in, voice steady. Traffic advisory escalating. If you've got an emergent, you flag now. I picture what flagging does. More lights, more eyes, a loudspeaker announcement that makes strangers stare while somebody crumbles. The system gets safer, maybe. The person gets smaller, definitely. We're 20 seconds from the blind corner. Mara fingers the case handle like a dial she can turn to off. Call it, Ray says to me. She doesn't pass the choice back to the bridge. She hands it to the person closest to the ground. I look at Mara. If I radio this in, we lock the boat down. You'll have police and paperwork instead of breath. Maybe that's what I deserve, she says. Her voice isn't tragic. It's tired. What you deserve tonight is air, I say. Whatever comes after can come with air. The beacon blinks. The tug's wake finds our hull, and the deck shivers. The missing sonar ping makes the space under us feel less like water and more like a stare that isn't there. Ray's voice is a thin wire. 4 to the blind? You can have both if you're exact. Hold report for 10 seconds, intercept, then call. That's a violation, I say. That's a choice, she replies. Mara lifts the case to her chest, as if weighing what's inside against what isn't. You don't even know me, she says. I know the math, I answer. I know how a beam makes a shadow and how a shadow eats people. I know you brought a tape because you wanted to speak without being stopped. I'm stopping you so you can speak more. She stares at me so hard I feel my lies fall away until only the useful truth remains. Who's on your tape? She asks. My brother, I say. Or the piece of me that left him on a pier and pretended it was fate. I'm fixing the part of the boat with my name on it. The ship slides toward its mark. The blind pocket opens like a throat. I thumb the radio. Bridge, hold status, I say. I have a passenger in need of immediate assistance. I will update in 10 seconds. I click to receive but not transmit. The world holds its breath with me. Walk with me, Mara, I say. We'll stop at the bright side of the line and breathe there. You can hand me the case or not. You can tell me the name that helped or not. Just breathe first. Ray descends 3 rungs and plants her voice in the path ahead. No one crosses alone. Mara's shoes make a choice sound rubber releasing from deck paint. She steps out of the shadow toward the brighter paint stripe where the beacon will land. I match pace on her left. Ray becomes a guardrail made of words on her right. We move 3 beats. The beam swings. White eats gray. The blind window closes without taking anyone. I lift the radio again. Bridge. Passenger secured. Proceeding to first aid. Recommend traffic remain normal. My hand shakes only after I let go of the button. Mara's grip loosens on the case. It's empty, she says, almost apologizing to the emptiness. Good, I say. Let's keep it that way. First aid is a bright box with rubber corners and a smell like new bandages and old salt. I set the music box on a shelf and the recorder on the counter beside the sink. Mara stands within reach of the doorway, case to her shins, not quite in or out. Ray leans at the jamb, hands visible, nothing in them but time. Sit if you want, I say. I want to stand, Mara answers. Then, stand, Ray says, and the room gets easier by a degree. I rewind the tape to the jagged edge before the breath. I shouldn't, not yet, but there's a reason she carried this and a reason it found me, and if that connection is a trap, it needs tripping while we can still walk. I'm sore, the voice says, and the recorder clicks over a seam of silence into, Rye, I left you on the pier. The sentence lands like a dropped wrench, heavy and familiar. But the weight isn't only the words. It's the mic pop at the plosive, the way the breath shivers the diaphragm and throws a tiny whistle at the end of Pier. That's not hers. That's mine. My pocket recorder, years ago, when I stood on a dock and practiced apologies into copper-colored dusk and didn't deliver a single one. Ray studies my face like a chart. That yours? The mic artifact is, I say. The cadence, too. I hate how clinical I sound, but the alternative is a sob that doesn't help anyone. Someone copied my test. Or I gave it to someone once and forgot I gave it away. Mara's eyes flick to the box, then the door. He asked for examples, she says, voice low. Said some kinds of sorry are easier to rehearse if you know what they sound like. Ray says. A deckhand, Mara answers. He said he used to run maintenance. He knew where the ship blinks. He said 22 seconds is enough to decide who you'll be. My throat dries. There are a dozen men that description could fit, and only one it won't stop trying to. Did he give a name? She shakes her head. Names are heavier than they look. The ferry shoulders the pier with a soft rubber thump. Mooring lines whistle and then take hold. We're docked, but the room still moves because bodies don't obey geometry all at once. I cue the tape again, listen for mistakes I'd make. The breath in on I'm is too cautious. The left breaks clean, as if the mouth wanted to bite it but decided on permission instead. That was me once biting back when I should have told the truth. I set the recorder down and keep my hands open. This doesn't put you in trouble for carrying it, I tell Mara. It puts me in the room with you, instead of somewhere else pretending not to be. Ray folds her arms. We'll need to ID the helping hand, she says. But not now. Not in a way that turns this space into a box with a locking lid. Mara lifts the case, opens it. Nothing inside but a folded sweater and the scent of laundry never dried all the way. I was going to leave it here, she says, placing the sweater on the counter, the case empty again. Proof that I meant it. Keep the sweater, Ray says. Change what proof means. I meet Mara's gaze. When we move from this room, we go toward people, not gaps, I say. We can do paperwork without turning you into target practice. She nods once. The tightness around her mouth eases a fraction. Ray pulls a small foil packet from the wall rack and peels it open 2 sugar tabs. She drops one in a paper cup of water until it fizzes. It's not magic, she says, offering it. It's chemistry and a little kindness. Mara takes the cup. The fizzing sounds like 1,000 soft decisions agreeing. The gangway goes down. The pier breathes people. Harbor noise rises, a forklift backing. A gull waking like a rusty hinge, the PA chime tuned 2 notes sweeter than ours. We keep to the bright side of the painted line, where the lighthouse makes its promise visible. I didn't come here to be saved, Mara says. The fizz water sits half-finished on the sill. I came to stop something from happening again. Which something? Ray asks, the question light enough to carry. Leaving before anyone knows how heavy it was, Mara says. Her hands smooth the sweater as if it were a map. My mother left like that. I learned the trick. It works until the first time you watch someone look for you and realize you taught them to lose. Ray nods, a motion that accepts the math without excusing it. We can stand between you and the copy of that moment, she says. That's all saved means tonight. Mara glances at the crowd pulsing along the pier. No one is watching us yet, which is a kind of mercy. He said keep moving and the cameras turn you into blur, she says. He said the water is a witness that doesn't testify. Water lies, I say. It looks like quiet and does violence under the skin. She huffs something like a laugh. You fix machines and sell poetry. I sell function, I say, and point to the brighter concrete near the security kiosk. Function says we meet there in 3 minutes, where a guard can see you and not make a scene. Function says we hand over the case and the music box and you tell me how to return the tape to whoever gave it or whether we let it sink in a way that isn't killing. Mara closes the empty case. The zipper rasps like a little saw. If I walk there, she says, you don't grab me. We don't grab, Ray says. We walk 2 steps off your shoulder. We talk if you want. We shut up if you want. But we don't let the dark have you. Why do you care? She asks, not as a challenge so much as a test for structures. Ray tips her chin toward the ship. Because I take boats personally, she says. They keep people between places. And that's sacred work. Also, I'm retiring a captain who deserves a clean last month. She looks at me. And he, she adds, has repairs to finish in more than one system. The lighthouse throws a slow wash over the pier. People look away from light by instinct. We get a pocket where eyes slide off. Mara slides the strap of the case over her shoulder and adjusts it to fit less like ballast and more like luggage. 3 minutes, she says. To the bright kiosk. Walk with your head up, I say. It confuses anyone who wants you small. We start. The pier boards creak under a dozen private choices. Ray falls into step, and her presence is an architecture more than a shadow corners where someone could rest. Halfway there, a dock worker with a crooked cap clocks the case and then looks away too fast. His attention sticks like a burr on my sleeve. Friend of yours? Ray asks under her breath. Could be our helper, I say. Could be a man who noticed a bag. Doesn't matter, she says. We're almost home. Home, Mara repeats, tasting the word like it might spoil. Maybe not that yet. Then not left, I offer. She nods. That's enough for tonight. The security kiosk is a rectangle of humming light. A guard inside stamps dates on things no one will remember in a week. The lighthouse slow blinks across his plexi and turns his face into a mask that changes expressions a beat late. Morning, he says like it's a password. Transfer for wellness check, Ray answers. Badge low, voice low. No patrol, no spectacle. He reads the room correctly, woman steady. 2 attendants, no hands on elbows. Copy. Bench inside. I can call the clinic if you want. Or... Let's do quiet first, I say. Name for the log. Mara Hale. She consents to sit where she's seen. Mara nods. The guard writes it, letters careful. He's one of the good ones, the kind who measures not just inches but dignity. He slides a paper bracelet across the counter like it's made of glass. May I? He asks. You may, Mara says, and lifts her wrist herself. On the pier behind us, the crooked-capped dock worker hovers a second too long, and then decides to be somewhere else. He's not our problem tonight. He never should have been anyone's solution. Ray opens her palm. The case, she says to Mara. Mara puts it in Ray's hand. It weighs what it weighs now that empty is allowed to be empty. Ray sets it on the counter, then looks to me. The box, she says. I hold the music box and feel the notch where the felt hides the cavity. Chain of custody, I say to the guard. Logged under Ortiz's authority. There's a tape inside. It connects to an ongoing safety concern and a personal apology that is not a crime. Understood, he says, and his pen moves again, neat as stitches that won't chafe. We time the next sweep without speaking. The lighthouse turns, the dark swells, the beam returns, and paints all of us the same color for a breath. 217 sits on the kiosk wall clock and then tiptoes past. In the window of it, a dozen small choices align, the guard not reaching for a radio, Ray not reaching for cuffs, Mara not reaching for the gap. Do you want us to keep the tape? I ask Mara, or to return it to the person who taught you the blind spot? She studies the box like it might answer. Keep it, she says. Make it mean something different. Ray signs the log. I'll walk you to the clinic door, she tells Mara. Then I'll come back and file the boring part. Thank you, Mara says. It isn't cinematic. It doesn't have to be. Ortiz calls on the radio. Status, Ray? All's quiet, she answers. Passenger secure. Transfer in progress. Boat ready when you are. Copy. And Ray, good work. Ray doesn't smile exactly, but the lines around not smiling relax. She nods toward a bench where I can sit a minute before the next checklist eats the day. I pull my recorder, not for evidence now, but for something overdue. The room is a mix of kiosk buzz and gull noise, and the heart-slowing hush that comes when a disaster decides not to happen. I press record. Noah, I say. I stood on a dock once and rehearsed an apology into a machine instead of finding you. That was cheating. Tonight I stopped a stranger from lecturing the water. I'm learning to do the live version. If you want to hear it, I'll bring the words to you, not the other way around. I stop the recording and don't play it back. Some things get to be single use. Ray returns from the doorway, shakes, drops from her sleeve. You good? Getting there, I say. We've got 3 more stops before dawn, she says, which is another way to say codes and kindness keep repeating. She taps the music box once with a knuckle. It answers with a soft, repaired-sounding note, because I swear the ship has tuned itself around us. Let's go to work, I say.